Welcome back to the Sandy Trail. We are in episode 2 of season 3 of Sanditon. So we will go through the first 15 minutes of episode 2 and we will pick up on the next 15 minutes in the next video. I hope you've been liking the setup of my reviews. It's a little bit different than before, but it's really nice though that we get to talk about everything, even though some scene I don't release the dialogue, the sound from some of these scenes just because of YouTube. I only had one strike, not a strike, but one flag from YouTube, which was the second part of episode 1 review. After that, it has been smooth sailing, so everything is looking up so far for Sandy Trail 3. Once again, there is a playlist on my channel. If you're just joining in just now, there is a playlist called Sandy Trail 3, and you can catch up on all of the season 3 reviews on there. I do update it on a weekly basis. We should get started on episode 2 now. What a change of atmosphere. The end of episode 1, Mr. Lockhart informed Georgiana, like, hey, like, you've been written up, like, we need to meet in court and have this battle against one another. Like, let's see who gets the money from Georgiana's father. And Georgiana freaking out. She's like, I need to find a lawyer, and Charlotte was there to be her witness and supporting her as a friend. The beginning of episode 2 is like, okay, what happened next? And we get to see Charlotte walking along the shore.
My dearest Charlotte, I picked these from the hedgerow beside the river. They are to remind you of home. I hope it will not be long before Georgiana's situation is resolved and you can return to me.
Ralph already left Sanditon, so it sounded like he left right after Georgiana's birthday party. Ralph has no interest in Sanditon. Like, he has no interest of even like staying longer, like have a longer vacation in Sanditon. He's that type of guy. Like, Wellington is my home. Like, I need to get back home. I need to get the wedding prepared. And usually women are the ones that have a much more deeper role in planning a wedding, you know what I mean? And Charlotte is staying behind in Sanditon. She didn't seem happy reading the letter. She seemed very serious, in deep thought. The question of, does she want to leave Sanditon? That's the big question for Charlotte in season 3. Does she see her future in Sanditon or in Willenden? Does she see a future with Ralph in Willenden?
I'm counting the hours until we are married. Until then, Ralph.
I don't know about you, but for me, every time Charlotte walks along the shore, or just even like gazing upon the horizon of the water, it became like a retreat for her to go to, that place of just finding peace and allow her to have a deep thought and think about important matters that are going on in her life. Ralph is so excited. He's like, cannot wait to marry her. But I don't see that from Charlotte, you know, like that happiness, that impatient of getting married. Like, I don't see that excitement coming from Charlotte. Back in downtown of Sanditon, the promenade area, you can see the sign, God Save the King. and Arthur is busy planning, and Lady Susan is checking in on him. Arthur is taking very seriously, right? The planning of welcoming the king into Sanditon. This is a huge deal. It's like the president coming into your hometown, right? Arthur is very serious, very focused on planning this welcome party for the king. And if the king does come, it will be a good marketing tool to attract more visitors and possibly more tenants living in Sanditon. Lady Susan is very interested in what Arthur is planning, and it's really nice to have Lady Susan back in Sanditon. She's just one of those supporting roles that have like such a huge impact on the show, even though she's not in every season of the show. Arthur is very, very focused. He's the type of guy that want to satisfy everyone, especially the king.
We promised we'd help.
Indeed we did, my dear, and help we shall. But everyone I've approached on Georgiana's behalf has turned us down flat.
Surely the chance to win such a case would enhance any lawyer's reputation.
Yet every plea for help was met with an excuse which excludes them.
It's really nice, though, that the Parker family is helping Georgiana in this situation. They are technically her guardians at the moment.
Only Lord Montague was honest enough to cite the real reason.
Which is?
The Lord Chancellor appointed to hear Georgiana's case holds views which are not sympathetic to her cause.
Then Georgiana's inheritance will be lost.
We get to hear how that search is going for Georgiana, the new lawyer, and every lawyer that they went to, they declined the offer to represent Georgiana. There were a lot of excuses, like Tom mentioned, and I can think of like some of them. Like one, she is a woman, and second of all, she's a color woman. And that battle of man versus woman was different back in those days. Men had more power, more freedom, more opportunities than women did. It's a higher stake, is more challenging than they thought. It doesn't sound promising that Georgiana will win the case. Of course, if the judge is a white male, a man, of course he's gonna favor Mr. Lockhart. If it was a woman judge, right, which didn't happen in those days, then there will be a better chance for Georgiana to win the case.
Another lawyer turned her down.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Then we must keep searching.
Charlotte, she always had that determination, that persistent spirit in a good way. She's not giving up. She's not giving up on Georgiana. It's a huge sacrifice, though, that Charlotte decided to stay behind in Sanditon to help Georgiana. That is like delaying her wedding season, her wedding back home in Wellington. I'm sure Georgiana wants her friend to focus on her wedding and just focus on her future with Ralph. Okay, this scene, Edward is not doing anything. He is faking it. We already know that. Mr. Henkin is falling for that trap. He thinks that Edward doing the work, but in all honesty, he's just doing half of the work, or even like 25% of the work. Yeah, Edward is like so, like he's just so easy to persuade or manipulate someone, including the pastor, the priest. And now he's thinking about writing a poem, and I never see him write a poem like ever in my life in the history of this show. What the heck is he doing? But anyway, we all know, right, that Edward is just faking all of this and just pretending that he is actually getting saved, like he improving himself, like he has a better mentality, a better attitude. He is trapping everyone, except for Lady Denham.
Tom has a most tenacious spirit. He will find a lawyer. He will not give up.
All these lawyers think my fate is sealed. They can think again. He'll never give in.
Once again, it's really nice that Georgiana had this support system in Sanditon, and especially in this situation that she is in. Georgiana, she made a good point. She's like, these lawyers, they don't know her. They don't know the whole story. They need to think twice before creating a judgment on her. You know what I mean? Like, don't judge someone by the cover.
Perhaps they know what evidence Lockhart is intending to produce. This has convinced them not to take my case.
Then we must delay the trial to give Tom more time to inquire about Lockhart's dealings in Antigua.
What happened in Antigua is still a little bit mystery. Like, there's still some question about what happened in Antigua and how Mr. Lockhart found out about Georgiana and what he did in Antigua. We did know that Sydney went to Antigua to resolve this situation, and unfortunately, since his death, the situation with Mr. Lockhart transferred over to Sanditon, and now Georgiana had to deal with this situation herself without the presence of Sydney. If Sydney was still around, it would be interesting though. Mr. Heybourne probably would have assisted, let's be honest. But if Sydney was still around, I think he would have prevented it. I think it wouldn't have gone this far as to where we are now in this episode. But this is something that Georgiana seriously need to deal with.
If Lockhart's hiding something he's planning to reveal, it will not be the truth.
He certainly hid his true self from me.
I swear, we will expose him for what he is.
In season 2, Mr. Lockhart seemed to be like this really nice guy, right? And at the end of season 2, the mask came off him. In season 3, you can see his real self. He really that bad guy against Georgiana, and the tone of Charlotte's voice when she said that we will expose who he is. She very determined. She very mad at the fact that her best friend got treated like that by a man named Mr. Lockhart. So this is definitely a revenge adventure that Charlotte is on with Georgiana.
If I lose my father's inheritance, I lose my independence, my place in society. Without that status, how can I hope to find my mother?
Charlotte is trying to be positive for Georgiana. On the other hand, Georgiana is thinking about alternative. If she wins the case, she doesn't have to worry about anything. If she loses the case, she has those questions in her mind, like, how am I going to survive? How am I going to support myself? How am I going to be able to financially support myself to find my mom? Which is okay to do because, you want to be prepared. You can sense that there's some doubt, there's some low confidence in her, and that's why Charlotte at the same time she's trying to encourage her friend and support her and be positive that they can still win.
Miss Heywood, you're still here. Does this mean you're staying for good?
Miss Heywood. Miss Lamb. Come now, Leo. Let's leave Miss Heywood in peace.
Charlotte was like, uh-oh, when she saw Mr. Heybourne walking toward her. She did glance over to Georgiana, and Georgiana gave her that look, like this is happening. Mr. Heybourne, what a smile, what a greeting. He could have, not look happy in front of Charlotte, but he encouraged himself to just lighten up a little bit and smile, and just to protect himself, protect his real feeling. He didn't want to show to Charlotte that he's really sad about the other night at the party when he found out that Charlotte is engaged to a different guy, Ralph. So that's a big thing that he's doing. He doesn't want to show that he is sad about Charlotte's engagement. He trying to move on, trying to not let it get to him.
Forgive her for interrupting. She wasn't expecting to see you. Clearly can't contain your excitement.
I'm always happy to see Leo and Augusta. There's no need to apologise on their behalf.
But I won't.
He said that Leonora wasn't expecting to see Charlotte. And to me, I feel like that has two definitions. Not only Leonora didn't expect to see Charlotte there, but Mr. Heybourne as well. And I feel like part of him, he was happy to see Charlotte, even though she is engaged to Ralph. Charlotte, she tried not to get into the feelings of things whenever she runs into Mr. Heybourne. It's like the attraction is still there between them, and Charlotte trying not to let it get to her because she doesn't want to cheat on Ralph. I love this scene because after Mr. Heybourne found out that Charlotte is engaged to Ralph, I was curious, how he gonna act around Charlotte. Is he going to be sad about it, or he going to cover it up and try to look happy in front of her and be happy for her? He is standing up for himself in this scene in a really good way. That takes a lot of gut and courage for him to not walk away, but to face Charlotte. And if it's meant to be, right, Charlotte will come back to him.
Good day, ladies. Enjoy your tea.
Another smile from Mr. Heybourne. He really covering it up really well for now. It's a bit awkward though. She doesn't mind running into Leonora and Augusta. Nothing bad happened. The way it ended, it wasn't bad between those three girls. Charlotte is trying to stay civil with Mr. Heybourne, especially in public and in front of Leonora and Augusta. This was a challenge for both Charlotte and Alexander, and we get to see okay, it's the spark still there, it's the attraction between them is still there. It is definitely still there, but it's like a bridge, and there's a major stone in the middle of the bridge, and they just cannot connect to each other right now because of the stone, Ralph. So once Ralph is removed from the equation, from the bridge, then Charlotte and Alexander will be able to meet each other and be together. The way that Charlotte is looking at him is like she is testing him, curious as to how he gonna act or how he gonna behave and talk. I think part of her, she's surprised on how well Mr. Heybourne is handling the news that she is engaged to Ralph, because we all know that they had that great moment, together before they broke up. And, one of those type of loves, it's something that you can't move on ever, that feeling you meant to be with that person. But that face of him after he sat down, that broke my heart, because I was he knew he made a mistake, and now it's that mistake haunts him back and punishes him in return, and it's gonna be more difficult to get Charlie back, you don't want to be that bad guy and break them up, but at the same time, I think he wants that chance to say the real feelings, the truth to Charlotte.
I shall delay my return to Willingdon.
But what of Ralph?
He'll understand. How can I possibly leave you before this awful business is resolved?
Again, that's a huge sacrifice. She is delaying her future with Ralph. She is delaying the wedding season, the wedding ceremony back home in Willingdon. She does have pressure back home. Like, her parents are expecting her to marry Ralph. It's a whole different world back in Willenden, and she wanted to put that on hold and be in Sanditon for Georgiana's sake. But when she said that in this scene, I felt like the other reason why she wanted to stay in Sanditon is because of Mr. Heybourne. And I'm sure there's like at least one thought that he would cross her mind, like, do you really want to leave Sanditon? Like, do you really want to leave your chance to be with Mr. Heybourne? Ralph is just like the safest choice, just to like get over with, right? But that's like so low. Like, it's like settling for less. Like, you should go for the very best, and Mr. Heybourne is the very best, better option for Charlotte. If she really loved Ralph, and if she really didn't want to be with Mr. Heybourne, like, if she like really want to forget about him, she would have left Sanditon by now and marry off Ralph. You know what I mean? Georgiana, she's not alone. She still have the Pocket family. So like, part of it is just like, you know, it's so obvious that Charlotte is staying in Sanditon for more than one reason.
I refuse to believe there's not a single lawyer in England brave enough to make your case. You should draw attention to your cause by composing a letter detailing the iniquity.
Mr. Heybourne listening in on the conversation, number one, rude. But second of all, I'm so glad he listened to this conversation between Charlotte and Georgiana, and we will get to that later on in this video review. But Charlotte, she not giving up. She is trying to find like every possible avenue that Georgiana can take on to get attention to her case and to get help from a lawyer.
To send where?
The newspapers, the Chronicle, the Times. We must shine a light on this injustice.
I would certainly win if you were my lawyer.
It was different back in those days. You know, being a woman, you didn't have much opportunities, and especially if you are a colored person, that's even a worse situation to be in. England, they seem to be like half and half. Support the slave or don't support the slave. So it's a tricky situation. Of course, like, depending on the judge that gonna take over the whole session. Unfortunately, as of now, that judge will most likely favor Mr. Lockhart over Georgiana. So they would definitely need to find a lawyer that will be truthful and that will respect Georgiana and that will truthfully and loyally support Georgiana in her beliefs and her case. Mr. Heybourne, she was still listening to the conversation by the end of this scene. He was very intrigued. That question, like, okay, does he know anyone that is a lawyer?
If rumour is to be believed, Miss Lamb will soon be penniless. Might be wiser to refrain from your courtship until her future becomes clear.
If there's any truth in these rumours, then I cannot, in all conscience, abandon her.
If you get to know Harry, he's a nice guy. And it does show that he's willing to be a really good friend to Georgiana. Like, away from the lovey-dovey stuff, like, number one, like, he is a friend to Georgiana. And I think that is proven in the scene when he said that he will not abandon Georgiana. But on the other hand, his mom, she is much more focused on money. That where her eyes are on, like, her eyes are on the prize, and that is money, whether pushing her son to marry Georgiana or another rich lady from Sanditon or even in another town.
If there's to be a case, it's not been heard yet, so how can these gossips be so certain she'll lose?
Of course she'll lose. I taught you nothing of the ways of the world.
You have taught us everything, Mother, which is why we're the way we are.
Alrighty, this made me question about the perspective of Lady Monroe when it comes to colored women. She is pushing Harry to marry Georgiana, right? But after what she said in this scene, it made me question, like, does she really care just about the money? Like, will it bother her if her son marries off to a colored woman? Or she just really doesn't care and just wants the money regardless if Harry's wife would be a white woman or a colored woman. So it just showed that as of now, like, she's not very supportive of Georgiana's situation. Like Harry is. Harry's willing to stick by Georgiana's side, but Lady Monroe's like starting to kick her out of like the picture of what the future might look like for the Monroe family. If she was really a good mother-in-law, like she would have more sympathy for Georgiana and maybe try to help her out in any way she can, or at least show some support like Harry is showing right now in this scene.
I can never tell, Lydia, if you're complimenting me or insulting me. I can be grateful to your sister in one regard. At least she seems determined to put the past behind her and make a good match.
Lydia, say the truth in between the lines, you know what I mean? So she's definitely insulting her mom and she's getting away with it as of now. But Lydia, she still on that her own hunt for a husband while Harry is on a hunt for a wife. And she seemed to be like obeying her mom much better than Harry.
I'm going riding with Mr. Colburn today. Mother is unduly excited.
I'm going for a walk. See if I can't call upon Miss Lamb.
It's like Lady Lydia is like the favorite child at the moment. I know that's mean to say, but it looks like he is the favorite child over Harry. Harry, he's very determined in doing whatever he wants to do. It's funny though, like his mom like forced him to be with Georgiana, and now she's not, and Harry is voluntarily want to be with Georgiana, like out of his own choice, his decision. And his mom is not happy about it. Why this is happening in season 3? I'm pretty sure 99.99% of the fandom think like this is unnecessary. Like, why is this happening? I wish that Augusta had a better man to chase after, you know what I mean? Like a better match that is like close to her age, not an older man like Edward. But at the same time, it's kind of like a learning experience for me as a viewer. Like, okay, does she like older men? Like, like after this show ends for good, like, that future question, like, okay, if the show continues for so many years, like, will we see Augusta marry an actual older man, But I think it's better if she marries a guy closer in age than a guy that is entirely way better than Edward himself. But yeah, I think it's just unnecessary in regard to storyline writings for season 3. I don't mind exploring Augusta, but I'd rather have her be with a guy that is not Edward, you know what I mean? But what a sneaky plan she did on her uncle, like pretending that she forgot a glove back inside the dining area. You can see Edward, like, he anticipating a chance to talk to Augusta, and she read his signal when they looked at each other, and she made the move. She went back to Edward. I love her sarcasm. I love the way that she talked to him. She's like, are you kidding me? Like, you've been like waiting for me outside this place for the past 20 minutes. Like at first, like she's not playing around, like she picked up on these things that Edward does to women in general. But the next question is like, is she gonna fall for his trap, or is she gonna like think fast and ask like, okay, no, like this is a huge no, we're not going there.
This is your finest vintage.
Mr. Parker, clearly a man of discerning taste.
Thank you, Your Grace. Excellent. I shall take a case, if it pleases.
Mr. Parker, have I done something to offend you?
they got on the wrong foot ever since the beginning. Arthur, very protective of Georgiana, he just had this sense of doubt about Harry, of who he is as a man, and how he treats ladies in general, and believing that Harry is only about the money, not for real love, when it comes to Harry's relationship to Georgiana.
I give you so little thought, Your Grace. I can't imagine what you could be referring to.
I see. Well, your honesty is welcome.
Planning of the party for the king and Georgiana's situation with Mr. Lockhart, like Arthur already has so much on his mind, so I can totally understand when he told Harry, like, I don't really think much about you. Like, he does have like his opinion of Harry, but he's not gonna hate him or try to be mean to him.
I was hoping to call on Miss Lamb today. Do you know if she'll be receiving?
As you well know, Miss Lamb has more important matters on her mind than visitors.
What could be more important than love, Mr. Parker?
Nothing, when love is what it is.
Arthur answered to Harry's question about love. I thought that was interesting what he said, because to me, the way I defined his answer or interpret it is that whatever's going on with Harry and Georgiana is fake. Like, he doesn't support this relationship, and he already made that impression to Harry and Georgiana. Arthur believes that Harry had the bad intention, the bad reason of trying to get closer to Georgiana and win her heart and get her to marry Harry himself. It's like he's not there for the right reason. But right now, Mr. Lockhart's situation is more important than her romantic relationship with Harry.
Now, if you please excuse me, I must prepare for the arrival of the king and my star, Miss Elizabeth Greenhorn.
Harry is pressing on this idea of getting close to Georgiana. He liked the idea of role-playing with Georgiana. I think it's not about his mom anymore. I think it's just to protect his identity and the secret, the fact that he likes men, and he thinks that role-playing with Georgiana will help him, benefit him in the long run. So he has his own battles that he's dealing with himself, and Arthur doesn't know that. So it's really interesting how these two are against each other. Well, mostly Arthur, but they have like their own battle that they haven't told each other just yet. And I think if Arthur hears or listens to Harry's struggle about what he's going through in his life, I think Arthur would have been more understanding. But for now, Arthur just like, nope.
The famous Miss Greenhorn. What a coup, Mr. Parker. His Majesty will be enchanted.
Let us hope so, Your Grace.
It reminds me of in Downton Abbey. Was it the first movie that came out after the series ended? I think the Queen of England was supposedly coming to Downton Abbey to visit. I think it was the first movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's interesting, like, you know, the story, like, oh, the king is coming and Sanditon is going nuts, getting everything ready for the king arrival, and Arthur's like the master planner of all of this. So he is stressed about it a little bit. He wants everything to go well. And it's interesting that Harry's like continued the conversation. He's like, oh, like, you inviting that singer, that entertainer over, like, that gonna be great, like, the king will like that. And Arthur, like, can you stop annoying me now? Like, let me continue my job.
But why the sudden departure, sir? Might I ask where you're going?
London.
When will you be back?
I hope tomorrow.
Mr. Whitley asked the right question. Where are you going? London. Like, okay, like, if I was her, I would calculate how long it takes to go from Sanditon to London, and he did say that he would be back the next day.
It is most unusual for my uncle to leave without so much as a farewell.
Yes. Most unusual.
This is out of the blue, like Mr. Whitley, like this is not normal for her, so she kind of like freaking out, like, okay, you're leaving me with these two girls and the household, and you taking off to London without giving us like a good reason or a good explanation of why you leaving us, like all of the sudden. We get back to Edward. He is at the church. He's writing a poem, or trying to write a poem, a really good poem. He is struggling. He said markish and sentimental, which are the words that Augusta described him right in front of his face earlier in this episode. Miss Hankins arrived in church, and she was wondering if the mail came, well, specifically a letter. She was expecting a letter from Dr. Fuchs, so that relationship is happening at the moment. Miss Hankins, she can be naive, she can be gullible at times. She has no idea about Edward's plans and chasing after Augusta. And her advice to Edward in this scene, it's a good advice, but at the same time it's bad because Edward is pretending to be interested in Augusta. He is not interested in her. He is interested in her money. So he heard, take that advice from Miss Hankins about writing from your heart, like in a bad way. Like he can do that, but with the wrong intention, you know what I mean? He can like easily write a poem about his feeling for Augusta when in reality, like those words are fake because he doesn't truly like her like that.
It needs to be south-facing.
Yeah.
Goodbye, my dear.
Oh, goodbye. Where are you off to, my dear?
Oh, I hope you don't think me rude, Mr. Price, but I've arranged to see Mrs. Filkins in the old town.
Tom is working with Mr. Price, so is he doing this behind Lady Denham's back? So this is an interesting triangle relationship between Tom, Mr. Price, and Lady Denham. Mary, she is off to the old town again. I do like the storyline for her. It's something for her character to go through in season 3, and of course to keep her around within the show. But it just shows that the struggle, that obstacle that she has in her life. She's a wife, a mom. She doesn't have a job. She's looking for something to occupy herself, her free time, something that has a purpose, a meaning in life, and going to the old town and visiting Mrs. Filkin and supporting her children. It holds a value, a deep meaning for her that she takes it very seriously. It's something that she's passionate about.
Don't mind me, Mrs. Parker. Your husband and I have plenty to do.
Yes, we're searching for the best location for our hotel. Perhaps you would have an opinion, my dear.
That was very nice of Tom to open up to Mary, to allow her to have an opinion, to voice her opinion about the location of the new hotel. Back in those days, women didn't have many opportunities, they didn't have that voice to be heard in society, didn't have a lot of options when it comes to job. Like they expected to stay at home and not have a job. And Charlotte kind of like broke that culture when she became the governess in season 2.
There. The views will be spectacular.
What a splendid idea! Why didn't we think of that?
My wife is quite remarkable.
And I'm going now, before I become insufferably vain.
Mr. Price, if you look on his face, he's like, no, you're not letting your wife, voice her opinion. Like, this is a male topic, like a male decision making. But Mary made a good choice. I mean, she did have the right idea of picking that location, and Tom was proud, and he was very satisfied with what Mary picked and the way of her thinking. She did say that it would have really beautiful views if they picked that location. And Mr. Price, she seemed giddy, like, oh yeah, like that's a great idea, which is like the opposite reaction of when she's like watching Mary, you know, looking at the map and deciding which location, because men back in those days, like, they have the power in everything. Like, women didn't do much except for be a stay-home mom and, you know, wear beautiful dresses and go to balls and make babies.
A grand hotel overlooking the whole of Sanditon. The jewel in our crown.
You cannot put a hotel on top of a hill, Parker.
Think of the views.
Think of the trick.
His reaction, Mr. Price, flipped again after Mary left the room. He didn't want to embarrass her in any way. He had a good reason of why the location of the hotel should not be on top of the hill, but Tom was very supportive of Mary's choice in the location of the new hotel.
I have to be honest with you, Mr. Price. All of this is moot, anyway. Since for some unknown reason, Lady Denham has forbidden me from doing business with you.
Has she indeed?
Finally, he is being honest with Mr. Price. Like, he had to tell him, now or never, like, it's better now, right?
If experience is any guide, she's not a woman to change her mind.
Challenge accepted, Mr. Parker.
It's good that Mr. Price did not yell at him or quit on the project. He accepted the challenge, so he's very interested in the partnership with Tom and Lady Denham. But now the last thing that is the last obstacle before they continue this planning for the new hotel is Lady Denham. But I'm really glad that Tom finally told him the truth. And for unknown reason, like, you know, what's going on or like what happened in the past between Lady Denham and Mr. Price. But my first impression when he came into the show in episode 1, it had to be like a breakup that happened between Mr. Price and Lady Denham in the past. And who knows, maybe there would be a second chance for them to be together as a couple.
Oh, it's that ghastly Lady Montrose and her equally ghastly daughter.
What do they want?
To get their claws into your father.
Augusta and Leonora immediately does not support this idea of Lydia becoming the future new mom, new aunt, new wife of Mr. Heybourne. So right off the bat, like, these two girls, like, ready to fight against Lydia and her mom, like, you are not allowed to be here.
Mrs. Wheatley said they had arranged to go riding with him, but he must have forgotten to cancel before he left. Why don't we extend them our special welcome?
But Augusta was very honest to Leonora, like, hey, like, you know, like, this is not the right woman. Of course, Leonora wants Charlotte to be the one to be her new mom in the near future. So they already made up their mind, and this is actually a fun scene to watch, knowing that they are very supportive of Charlotte to be with Mr. Heybourne, and any other ladies, like, they, like, hit them out.
Can I help you?
We're here to see Mr. Colburn.
Augusta trying to act innocent in all of this. Lydia seemed excited. She seemed to look forward to the writing opportunity with Mr. Heybourne and get to know him. And of course, while that happening, her mom is forcing her daughter to be with Mr. Heybourne and to make this relationship work.
On a private matter.
He and I are going riding.
Well, it must have slipped his mind because he is not here.
To my horse! To my horse!
Lydia, like, I'm not, you know, trying to say nice things about her to, like, support her to be with Mr. Heybourne, but in general, I feel like she can be, like, a good mom someday. Like, she really didn't mind Leonora outburst in this scene. She seemed to be, like, cool with kids, but for Lady Montrose, her mom, she was, like, freaked out by it. She was, like, kind of, like, a bit afraid of little kids running around or being super active like Leonora is in this scene. So I thought it was an interesting little detail, you know, of what Lydia would have been like if she did become the new mom for Leonora. I think she would be really nice to them, but I'm not sure if Lady Monroe would be a nice grandmother to Leonora and Augusta. Let's be honest.
Come along, Mother. There's a war to be fought here.
And when will your uncle return?
We don't know. He is often absent, is he not, Leo?
Lady Monroe is on the tight schedule. She trying to kind of like speed up a little bit of getting her daughter Lydia to be married off to Mr. Heybourne. We know that Augusta and Leonora are acting to be innocent in all of this and trying to kick these two guests out and to not give them any chance to be near Mr. Heybourne.
Often, and he never tells us when he's coming back, or if.
Oh, poor Leonora, to have such a father.
But Lydia, she picked up on it. She's like, I know you two are up to something, but she played along with them, and she didn't seem to be bothered by it compared to her mom. And I think that shows that she can be natural around his, and she doesn't like worry much. She's just going with the flow. Like if it happened, you know, with the writing today, it happened. If it happened another day, then it would be another day. She didn't worry much about it. But it's obvious though that Lydia knew what Leonora and Augusta were trying to do in this scene.
Yes, poor child. That must be such a trial.
Come along, Lydia. Don't encourage them.
Drive on!
Lady Lydia definitely picked up on that from Augusta and Leonora trying to hit them out off this property. But Lydia, she just has this like different vibe, like this different atmosphere. Like she really didn't mind them, but Lady Monroe, she just like doesn't really care about these kids, you know? Like she only care about Lydia and Mr. Heybourne.
Excellent scotch, and a card game never ends. Dear God. Xander? What are you doing here, of all places?
I came to find you.
Samuel Heybourne, his brother, I think that's his older brother. He seemed a little bit older than Alexander. Correct me if I'm wrong. Samuel, he seemed to be living that single life. He was drinking, he was playing a hard game. So to me, he sounds really single. And he's just living his life in London. The single life of Samuel Heybourne, like he's just very easygoing, very laid back, and just enjoy life as it is. Like no worries, no concern, like just have fun. And with Alexander, like he seemed to be the more serious brother so far because he has a daughter and he has a niece that he is taking care of back in Sanditon.
We must have a drink then. No, I should warn you, I have had a considerable head start.
There is no time.
10 long years and you can't even spare
I need you to
half
come
an
to Sanditon with me. Now.
10 years is a long time. 10 years of not seeing each other. That tells us the relationship that they have with one another. Like, what happened, you know, since 10 years ago, and now they're meeting each other for the first time in 10 years. We know the answer is right there. Alexander went to London to find a lawyer for Georgiana, and that lawyer is Samuel Heybourne. So the next question is, will he help Georgiana in her court case? And that would be great. And also, I keep thinking, like, Alexander doing this, not only for Georgiana's sake, but because he loves Charlotte and he knows how much Georgiana means to her, and he respects that. So he wants Charlotte to be happy in a way that her friend will be okay. And then with that, Charlotte can go back to London and marry off Ralph. What a sacrifice, what a offering that Mr. Heybourne is doing for Georgiana and Charlotte at the same time. He's willing to travel to London. That time consuming and trying to find his brother, and he did, and then convincing his brother to go to Sanditon like immediately. They don't even have any time to catch up. It's just like in and out, and traveling back to Sanditon, that time consuming too. He's leaving everything back at home in Sanditon just to help Georgiana. We will leave it here and pick up the next 15 minutes in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this. Any thoughts, any comments down below in the comment section. Feel free. Give this video a like if you like it. I hope you like it. I hope I'm doing well so far in season 3 reviews. Subscribe if you haven't, just so you can keep up to date with these reviews, or follow the playlist on my channel, Sandy Trail 3. That's all the season 3 reviews on that playlist. We got a lot of new characters, right? And we got Mr. Lockhart back and Lady Susan back. So this season, there's a lot of things going on, and quite a few new characters in season 3, which is really exciting, just to keep the momentum going. And I cannot wait to talk more about Samuel Heybourne in the rest of this episode. I will see you very soon for part 2 review for episode 2 of season 3. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for following along as usual. Bye.